Bienvenido. Come on in. Good to see you, Joe, Corey, Brian, Mike, JT, Jake. Amazing. Love that. Is that what's that called? Like the royal way or the queen? Is that what it's called? I'm not cultured, but hey, Dustin, good to see you.
I don't know. It's just fun to do.
Yeah. Hey, Suchi. Yeah, that's great. Suchi, good to see you as well. And see you in a minute. Glad you're here. Yeah. So I don't know, at church, like one of the young men, when he was saying goodbye to me this past Sunday, he just like did one of these, and I was like, "Is that?" I think that's the British Royal like salute. I think that's the British salute. And he's like, was like that's we do this, but that's fine. I'll take it whatever I can get. Um, yeah. So now I actually I'm wondering if the salute emoji looks different in the UK, but that's a tangent we're not going to go on. Hey, so we're going to jump in right away with our wins of the week, and we're going to do a case study with Joe. Joe, I'm so glad you're here, Joe, and because we couldn't do this without you, of course. And so excited to be diving in. But first, I would love to know if you would jump in the chat and share what's a win we're celebrating. A couple of you, I'll invite to share on the mic, but just for the sake of time, we'll probably want to do everybody on the mic. I'll share my win is that I'm here. We had two tornadoes hit last night, one at 2 a.m., one at 5 a.m. And so I spend most of the night in the pantry with my kids curled up. And so it was quite the stressful evening, I should say. Every time we were like, all right, go back to bed. And then it was like another alarm would go off. And I was happy to go back to sleep as soon as the tornado had passed. But the first time it was our 1-year-old who wanted to stay up for 3 hours, and the second time it was our 5-year-old. So this is honestly, other than like 30 minutes of checking the community, this is the first work I've done today. It's been an interesting, unusual day, but I'm glad we're okay. My win is that we're okay. So love that. Corey, amazing to hear the fourth member of your group just signed up. Amazing. Love to hear that. Joe, just finished your first group cohort, 8 sessions, ready to fill the next one. Good perfect timing for today. Mike, figured out newsletter name. Love that. Mike, actually love it enough if you're willing to share in the chat what your new newsletter name is. And then Dustin got booked in the Smart Passive Income podcast. Been on his dream list for years. Love that. Brian said, soft launch a new lead generator and have about 3 dozen responses, about 15 calls booked because of it. Awesome. I love these wins. This is so great. Thank you. Keep it coming. In-person workshop and cohort recruitment coming up. Love it. All right. Well, great. Well, so keep the wins coming. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to just celebrate the wins. I guess I should probably say a professional win too. Let's see. Personal win, I already told you, so we survived the night. Professional win. I'm really excited right now. So I've got a cohort starting next month in May. So first of all, if you know anybody you'd like to refer, send them my way. Because right now, April is very focused on just a packed calendar of meeting with people who are considering joining. And I've already had some verbal yeses. I had one deposit paid. It's always interesting. Like I trust to count when people say yes, until the money's in the bank. But still, it's a good start. And looking forward to another sold out cohort starting next month. And let's see, more wins. Oh, hey, Drew, good to see you here as well. Mike shared his new newsletter name is Stay Locked In, which I love that. It's just focused on helping coaches lead athletes to perform under pressure. Amazing. And Jake, I see your win. Had a circle call yesterday. Random connection on LinkedIn. Went well overall. Just got a follow-up response to the question specifics of payment conditions. Okay, good progress. Yeah, I don't know about the mother-in-law marketing strategy. I'm not sure that's a scalable, but if it works, take it. Love that. So, Joe, why don't you come on the mic real quick? I know some people in this community already know you pretty well. Some people don't, right? So let's just go ahead and first, if you missed the memo of what we're covering today, this is our sold out coach case study where Joe's agreed to be our case study for today. So we're going to be diving into how he filled his first sold out cohort, specifics of that, super specific. He'll tell you more about his target client, but it's like super specific. One of those ones where you're like, surely this won't work in that niche, but it did. Spoiler alert, it did. So, so we're gonna dive in and talk about that. But would you start by actually just introducing yourself to the group?
Right. Okay. And hi, Dustin. Good to see you and Jake and others. I'm a lawyer and I have a law firm, and I've been a general counsel, which is the senior most lawyer inside of an organization, various times in my career. And so I wanted to launch a group coaching program for inside counsel, which are also known as in-house counsel, which are any lawyer who's working full-time for a company or an organization. So they don't have a practice where they're taking clients. They have one client and it's their employer.
Yeah, great. So just to double down on that for a minute. Thank you, Joe. So like there's a lot of like niche nuanced things here, right? Like it's for lawyers, The coaching programs for lawyers. You're yourself a lawyer, but specifically, it's not for sort of like, I guess maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but usually when I think of a lawyer attorney, I think of the guy I call when I need to file some business paperwork or get a contract to look at where I'm going to pay him an hourly rate. Actually, I have to be careful living in a small town because if I run into my lawyer at a coffee shop and we chat for 10 minutes, it's on the bill. It's itemized. So like that's my experience with an attorney. So, but you're talking about something different, right? So you're talking about these are full-time employees working at a company where they're essentially like the lawyer just for that company. Can you give us an example of what kind of companies your target client would be working for or with?
So my career's been in healthcare. So I've been general counsel of like DaVita dialysis company. Maybe you've seen them in your town. They're sort of all over. Um, a hospital, company would have a GC. Really, any company that's probably over like 100 million in revenues is going to have an inside lawyer of
Okay.
some sort. And then the largest companies will have like a couple hundred
Oh
lawyers.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is your program as you came in kind of what is your program designed to help them do? Those your target client. Now that we have a better idea of who they are.
Yeah. So I originally wanted to market it for people who wanted to be the general counsel. So they want to, whatever organization they're in, be the top lawyer in their organization. And then I tweaked it a little bit because a lot of times, or most of the time, if they're not the general counsel, they're going to the general counsel to get sponsorship for them to participate. And I felt it was a little bit like, oh,
Mm.
I want your job.
Yeah.
And so I had to tone it down a little bit. And so now it's to help inside counsel reach their full potential
Okay. So the 10x promise then is achieve your full-time potential as an inside counsel. Is that
as an
right?
inside lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So Joe and I actually had to talk about this a couple days ago because this first thought was like when he shared that, it was like, doesn't sound like it's purple elephant clear, right? Like achieve your full potential is pretty broad. But the point I made for Joe, just which I want to illustrate for everybody here, is that when you're dialing in your core promise and your 10x promise, you want to make sure you think about this in terms of two things: identity and intent. You have to be super, super specific in one of those. So the identity that Joe is going after is super, super specific, right? I mean, these are full-time attorneys working at a company that's doing over $100 million in revenue, and they're already like on the payroll as a full-time attorney, right? So like super specific. What that means is that you can actually be pretty broad with the intent of like the how do you describe what they want, how do you describe what they're going to do. You have to be really specific in one or the other. I'm actually the exact opposite of that, right? The intent that my program sells is to help you launch a sold out group coaching program. But some of you are like attorneys or therapists or coaches or on a sabbatical year or former athletes or former CMOs or marketing agencies. Like people come in with a lot of different backgrounds, but the intent is super specific of launching a sold out group coaching program. Whereas Joe's, the identity is super specific and the intent, achieve your full potential, is admittedly pretty broad. So I just want to illustrate that you have to be specific on one or the other, but if you're very specific on identity, you can get away with being pretty broad with intent and still have a program. Joe, anything else you want to add to that, just from your
No,
experience?
I would just say that I'm still looking for a better 10x
Yeah,
promise. But that was helpful what you said, and it makes sense. But
yeah,
I'm still, and I've had of course, a lot of different versions and did a lot of
yeah.
different versions here. So
Well, let's just celebrate that for a minute, right? Because I think a lot of people think, man, one day when my 10x promise is perfect, I'll have a sold out group coaching program. Well, Joe's not happy with his 10x promise. He still wants it to be better, but he has his whole group coaching program, right? And so that's just one of the things I want to just really emphasize here that like it doesn't have to be perfect for you to make progress. So Joe, coming into this, as you were learning the 7-step process that I teach, I don't know, I'm just curious, kind of like, did you have any initial concerns about how this would apply to your niche?
um, on the a couple times along the way, like on the 10x promise, lawyers are trained maybe by nature and then trained to be skeptical.
Mm,
So it a little bit tampers down the promise that I'm looking I'm looking to make. You know what I mean? Um, and so there was that. Once we got past that first one, like when we got into the hand raisers,
mm,
I found it was everything you were saying when I did it was getting the intended reactions
Excellent.
that I had hoped for. So
Yeah.
this is why my 10x promise maybe isn't as flashy as even I would like it to be, but I think it was maybe less important in my
Hmm.
space than it might be in other spaces to have something that is such an attention grabber.
That's interesting. Since you mentioned hand raisers, I'm curious, would you be willing to kind of just walk us through? I mean, let's just kind of go back in time if you could. Are there anything you can share with us visuals wise in terms of like the actual emails you sent or conversations you had with clients that led to selling out your program?
Yeah, so I had targeted to have 6 people in the program.
Okay.
I wound up with 6 people in the program. There was a moment there when it looked like I might have 7 or 8,
Yeah.
but wound up with 6.
Which was the
And
goal. Awesome.
and if you go through sort of, I went through my emails, which I'm happy to share on the screen, from each one of the 6 that I landed,
Hmm.
what that email string was, and you know, each one was a different story and happened in a different way. So I don't know if you want me to go
Yeah.
through that
No,
kind of
please do. I
detail.
think let's make it
You know,
real. Just because you mentioned the
okay.
numbers though, so you had 6 clients. How much did they pay?
Okay, the ultimate price, and you're going to see this in the emails,
Yeah.
went from 5,000 down to 2,500. And the
Okay.
way that happened was the first person signed up. This is like a Dustin Reekman story. The first person
Yeah.
signed up at 5,000, and then the second person said they could only get their company to reimburse for 2,500. And I really wanted her in the program. She's got a big social media reach. And so I said,
Mm.
listen, let me just make it easy. We're just going to make it 2,500. And then I went back to the first person. I said, it's only going to be 2,500
Oh,
every
awesome.
person. And then
Yeah.
once I put 2,500 out there, people signed up pretty quickly. So,
Yeah.
maybe the price at 5,000 was too high. I hadn't communicated that to a lot of people, so I don't really know. I'm
Yeah.
going to look in this next round to bump it up to 3,500. But
Okay.
anybody who was in my first cohort is able to refer somebody with giving them a $500 scholarship. So the net price will be 3,000. So, we're going to
Okay,
see.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll come back to your strategy of next cohorts. Let's stay focused on
Yeah.
this one to start. But just to connect the dots, if you're not sure what he means by Dustin's story. So Dustin, thankfully, who's here also, if you haven't watched his case study in the community, we really kind of go through how he went from like $0 to $1 million in group coaching. And his very first customer, I think Dustin was at 7,500. Was that what they paid? Is that right?
The first one actually paid
Yeah.
15,000, and
Oh, that's
then
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
on a payment plan, and then then I realized that wasn't sustainable. It didn't feel good to me. I backed off the program to 7,500. So like Joe went back to the first guy, was like, I love you, and you don't have to pay me anymore because I'm gonna like change the price now. And
Yeah.
so
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a bad strategy. I mean, my general advice going into this is I'd rather you start at about 2,000 and kind of gradually work your way up. But Joey, you ended up in the same space. You ended up, I think 2,500 was your price, you said, right? For
Yeah.
all 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all 6. Yeah. And
Okay,
can you
great.
guys see the email that
Yeah.
I've opened up?
We can see your inbox with a bunch
You
of
can only
emails.
see the inbox. Okay. Let me share in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and just to also illustrate, this is kind of like a fun, like little meta thing, like being Dustin here, and like his story came up. So actually, I met Joe through Dustin, right? So a lot of times these conversations, right? Like Joe is a client of mine who was a client of Dustin's, and then I met in Dustin's community, and then Joe came over here, and just like want to illustrate that, like a lot of times the reality is like a lot of this is very relational, of just like getting in front of your target client and showing up and adding value, and then inviting them to work with you. So Joe, yeah, walk us through what you
yeah,
got. I can see.
totally. And
Yeah.
this first person, Alia, heard
Yeah.
me guest on a podcast. Okay.
Oh, okay. Great.
And many of the people in here will their Genesis story with me will be from hearing me on a podcast, either
Which Dustin will be
guesting
happy to
or
hear.
my own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alia heard me guest on a podcast, reached out, and then we had a conversation. So the conversation came first, and then I sent her the details because I was still kind of formulating what I was going to do. And then I had that conversation. I said, "Here is the program."
Yeah.
And so this was based on what I learned in this course,
Yeah.
right?
Got it.
Just very straightforward. Would you like to join?
Great. Awesome. Okay. So would you just like read us through this email just so we can kind of follow along with your thinking here?
Yeah. So, okay, so it was a recap of our conversation. I'm going to be opening my first cohort. I enjoyed our conversation. As a reminder, so this could be like a hand raiser email, but this was after the fact, but it was a reminder.
Mhm.
This is the kind of person that I'm looking for. So then
Okay,
she's going to
great.
see this and say, oh, I'm a top performing in-house counsel. I'm a high achiever who wants to be the GC. And I want to be confident because a lot of, just like probably in every area, a lot of lawyers, in-house lawyers have imposter syndrome. And they're like, are there things that Joe knew as a GC that I don't know yet that I
Yeah.
can learn from him? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I feel like I know this. I feel like I understand your client only because my wife's been watching Suits, and so I've been watching snippets. So, but I feel like that means I don't actually know
yeah.
anything, but I think I do.
Yeah, and so then I said the cost is
Yeah.
7,500, 10-week program. That's going to morph into a 4-week program. Thank God I did that. Um,
Yeah.
and the price came down.
Yeah.
Uh, as I
So this
said,
was the first customer. This is the
yeah.
first customer, right? Great.
So exactly. So this was
Yeah.
the first one, and we took that conversation offline, and
Okay.
she actually signed up, but I don't have an email string to share
Tell
with
me more about that. When you say
her.
you took it offline, was that like a video call or a text
Yeah,
conversation
we had
or?
another Zoom call.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So just like to put context, it's like you didn't, this first one was a little bumpy in that like you didn't have like she replied to a hand raiser and then had a serve call and then you closed the sale because you were like still kind of figuring out the offer, but you were
Correct.
still able to close the sale. Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This second one was I started my podcast and I interviewed, it's all interviewing GCs.
Okay.
Okay. And
Your target
so,
client.
well, above my target client.
Got it.
So the first one that I did after we turned the recording off, he said, I've seen this. You've talked about this Insight Council Academy. What is it? So I told him, and he said, oh, I have somebody on my team who this would be great for. I'm gonna have her join your first one whenever it
That's
is,
awesome.
whatever. And he didn't ask price or anything, right? Um, so then I had a call with her, and then I followed up with this email. And what was interesting about this was, at 2,500 bucks, I was like, well, I've priced it now, so people are just going to pay for it. But each person, each of the first couple were like all about getting their company to pay, which was fine.
Yeah.
But they were sort of like, I think they weren't going to do it unless their company paid,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
which was surprising to me because I would have paid for this when I was an up and coming lawyer. But
Hmm.
all 6 of them were company reimbursed, and I'm not sure that they would have participated out of
Okay.
pocket.
Well,
So
but nobody
this is
did
how lawyers
anybody
are.
did anybody not get it approved by their company and then
No. And
okay.
I wound
Yeah.
up writing an email for them to get it
Awesome.
approved by
Okay,
their
that's a
company.
great pro tip I was going to say. So you've already done that, which is that there are whenever you're selling a program that's like B2B like this, where there's multiple decision makers, or where you're selling to the end user, but their like company or their employer is going to pay for it. It's always helpful to have one or two swipe emails that you can give
Yeah.
them of like, hey, here's how to get your boss to approve it.
Yeah. And I can
Yeah,
share that email. But what's
awesome.
interesting about this one is this is when I went back to her because we had talked about 10 weeks, we had talked about $5,000. So I went back to her and I said, the program's going to be 4 weeks instead of 8.
Okay.
Now it was 8, 10, 8, 4.
Yeah,
Still 2 sessions a week, and we'll cover all of the same content, but in a more condensed time frame. Price is
gotcha.
2,500 instead of 5,000, and I threw in alumni access to the community for 12 months instead of 6. I think this is all good news, but thanks for your flexibility. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
great.
so this taught me like people don't want necessarily more; they want the same in less.
Because you said I can condense it. So now
Yes.
it's you're saying it's the same content. This was one of the questions in the chat. How are you able to move it from 10 weeks to 4 weeks? So you're doing 2 trainings a week, right?
Correct. Instead of I was going
Yeah.
to do office hours and a training,
Yeah. Yeah.
just cut out the office hours.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So great. This is excellent. The only caveat I'll say here is, and before anyone takes this, like, everybody starts condensing your programs. Jake alluded to this in the chat. It's like, as long as it's believable, that's the asterisk here, right? So this works great. Sometimes what I found is that depending on what you're promising, if the promise is really big and you say you can do it in like 4 weeks, the skeptic kind of alarm goes off and people say no. And so Rick Mulready talked about this on a Porterfield's podcast a couple years ago. He sold a program on how to launch a 6-figure profitable Facebook ads campaign. So like to build a Facebook ads funnel that's you're spending 6 figures or earning more than 6 figures. And he was a 90-day program, but a lot of people were just saying like, how the heck am I going to pull that off in 90 days? They just couldn't wrap their head around it. So he came back and he said, okay, it's the exact same program, but now it's 6 months, and his sales more than doubled. And so I think that's a good example of like where it's like same exact offer over a long period of time, sales doubled. In this case, Joe was able to deliver it over less time, which is awesome. But you got to just pay attention to customer feedback in terms of, is that believable to accomplish that? In your case, Joe, the promise is achieve your full potential. So apparently they can think they can do that in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's yeah.
And I have, my program is the 8 essentials of Inside Counsel Mastery.
Okay, great.
So, okay, this one is my favorite email to wake up to in the morning, which is from that somebody's taken my assessment.
Amazing. Is
Right?
this built on Magpie?
It's on Magpie. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
And then when they say they had a 30 out of 30 on the commitment score, I'm like, oh, this is somebody who's, really committed to self-improvement, is probably
Yeah.
going to do the program. Which is what happened here. Now, all of this is like in Magpie as a prefab message. If you get a commitment score above 25, I think you get this nice message about I'm thrilled, blah, blah, blah.
Amazing.
And they can automatically schedule a serve call on that. Now, this is my assessment. So they select an option. I'm an experienced general counsel, striving to be among the very best in my field. Other options are like, I'm new to in-house, or a middle option is I'm, an associate general counsel looking to move up.
Okay.
And then each of the questions is previewing with them what they're going to learn in my program.
Amazing. Got it. Yeah. And for
So
anybody
there
who's
are
watching
8
this and is like, I want this, Jane Huber, who this is public information now, until recently was the owner of Magpie. She did, one of her last hurrahs as the CEO of Magpie was to come in and do a training for Sold Out Coach Club. So we actually have a detailed training with her on how to use Magpie to do exactly what Joe's got here. She's since sold the company. So they publicly announced that. That's like recently.
Yeah. So these questions, I very much mapped them to my content, and
Awesome.
it pre-wires people to what we're going to cover. Okay. So then sometimes people don't schedule.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And and so I just send them another message right away inviting them to connect. She did, and then she wound up joining the program.
Amazing. Okay, great. Are we at 3 or where? Yeah, what's next?
We're at 3.
Okay, great.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, please. Let's get to the other 3 quickly. I'm sure we have more cover, and I want to make sure we save time for Q&A because people will have questions for you, Joe, about how do I be the next sold out Joe? But
Okay.
sold out your name, insert your name.
This is a good one. I mean, they're all different. That was the thing when I went back. So this one was a hand raiser email that we crafted right on one of John's calls. And this was to outside lawyers at big firms who their clients are in-house counsel. So now I'm asking them, and these are people that I've worked with for a long time. I'm saying I have a small group program running. I got very clear it's for any in-house counsel, regardless of industry or level, because everybody was like pigeonholing, and I wanted it to be broader. The common denominator, though, is that they are highly motivated to improve their ability to add value to their organization. Then I talk about what they get. I will be personally leading the program. These are the topics we'll cover. And I have 2 spots left.
Okay, amazing.
As soon as I start putting in, I have 2 spots left, things started heating up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm going to launch it with a minimum of 4. So when I had 2, I said I had 2 spots left. Okay, this will be an amazing program. What do you think about Karina? Now, this is crazy. Karina used to work for me 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
And I didn't have her on my list, but Sharon, who was our outside counsel at DaVita, who I brought in, still works with Karina, who I used to work with at DaVita, who's on to another company 20 years later. And she says, oh, I could reach out. I say, I think Karina would be perfect. It will be more effective if you reach out. What has worked for others is to forward my initial email. Like I was very prescriptive because it's not that great when somebody's like, oh, how about John Meese? He might be good for your program. Well, that's not that helpful. I could think of names. What I want is for you to email John and say, oh, there's this program that'd be perfect for you.
That's great. Yeah. Can you show us the PDF?
Oh, this is bad.
That's okay. It worked.
It's a screen grab of my website.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The website's great, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I would like to turn this into a one-pager, and I just haven't had time. But it's got all the program details.
Cool.
Talks about what you'll get, blah blah blah. So
okay, yeah, looks professional. Yeah, one thing I want to highlight, because you were very upfront in this hand raiser email of saying like, here's the cost, here's the program, here's what it is. So it's very product focused, whereas most of the stuff we do is very outcome or promise focused. That can work in situations like this. We're going to partners and you already have scarcity, right? So like Joe was like, I have 2 spots left. I think, Joe, if you didn't yet have the scarcity yet, if you couldn't yet say I have 2 spots left, I think it might have been a mistake to lead with like the price in that first email. But it worked in this case in part because there was scarcity. And so you could very much have that posture of like, look, take it or leave it. Here's what it is. And then right away, people were like, okay, take it. Yeah. Like, so I love that. Can you show us the next one?
Great. The next one is.
And wait, real quick, while you pull that up, I want to highlight, Dustin pointed this out in the chat too. That last email said this 8-session program. So it didn't say 8 week, which was kind of nice actually, because it didn't make people think, is it 4 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it just 8? So well done. That was good.
And less details, the better.
Yes. Don't introduce objections.
When they are and all that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. This one is a little bit of story, but I'll make it quick. In 2023, when I was first launching my individual coaching program, I connected with this guy, Carlos, from LinkedIn post that I did. I did a LinkedIn post. It was like my first post on LinkedIn or one of my first, and it got a huge amount of traction. I've never been able to catch lightning in a bottle like that one did, but it led to a lot of people reaching out. Unfortunately, I didn't have a great idea of how my program was going to work. I didn't have the right pricing for it. I priced it way too high. And so there were a lot of people in that first group that didn't sign up with me that I'm like, oh, now I think they would have. So this was an example of one. Carlos.
Actually, let's look at that timestamp at the top right? 2023, July
2023, right?
Yeah.
So I came back to him. I changed my pricing, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the important thing here is he said, he's turned me down, but he gave me reasons. Mentor versus coach, price, what the others were charging, etc. And I came back to him and I said, let me, like, a huge thank you for sharing the feedback. And anyway, I'd match pricing, whatever. That stopped, right? I didn't talk to Carlos again until I'm putting this program together. And 2 years later, and I say to him, I went back to that original list of people who reached out, right? Who I didn't bag many of them. And I said, here it is again. I have a small group launching next week of Inside Counsel, blah, 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 blah. I have 2 spots left, blah, 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 blah. Okay. He says, and I haven't talked to him in 2 years. Thanks for reaching out. I'm interested in the program. He asked a couple of questions.
And he listened to
my podcast. And I said, and I was just very virtual over Zoom and starts next week. And then I didn't say anything about time, what days of the week, blah, 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 blah. Thanks for thinking of me. Go ahead and reserve a seat for me. I'm in. We never had a call. He was just in, right? And then I said, awesome, the payment link is below. He paid it and off we went.
Okay, great. Amazing. Love that. So it's at this point, you're like, you know what you're doing. I actually remember you and I were emailing back and forth at this point. You're like, I got 3. Wait, no, I got 4. And we're like, you're like, it starts next. I remember we were emailing back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. And I was sending my my business partner, who is also my wife, regular updates like this: paid, confirmed awaiting payment, confirmed pending reimbursement confirmation. There were 3 of those, right?
Yeah,
Where they came from, and
that's great.
yeah. So every day I
That's
was like
amazing.
kind of
That's
updating
cool.
that.
That's
And
awesome.
then the last one was a like top recruiter for GCs, was the guy who placed me 20 years ago. I reached out to him, usual email here.
Yeah,
He made an introduction uh, to this woman who turned out to be one of the absolute stars of the program.
amazing.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome. Okay,
yeah.
so that was all everything we're talking about, even though it's recent history because it was only a 4-week program. Did you just wrap? Did you just wrap your cohort?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So tell us about just that experience. I mean, you told everybody, they joined, you did the thing. Related to that, there was a question in the chat I saw from JT that's like, wait a minute, how did you manage twice a week for busy corporate schedules? Like I am
Yeah,
curious,
yeah.
logistically, how do you pull that
So,
off?
I mean, we just, I just set the time and people arranged their schedule as well as they could. I
Yeah,
would say we always had at least 4 people, sometimes had 6, usually had 5. And I had, I had set up in,
are these 2 90-minute or 2 60-minute calls?
these are 60-minute calls,
Okay,
which was tight.
yeah,
Uh, I think 90 minutes would be better, but we made it work.
yeah,
And the thing that people appreciated was I set up a circle,
cool,
right? And um I have all the recordings.
amazing.
And so, and unfortunately, I never forgot to hit record. I was sure that I might, but I didn't. And then, I use this for sharing
Yeah.
resources and
Pro
what.
tip right there on recording. We always record these workshops twice. Once in Zoom and once with Fathom, because
Yeah,
occasionally we go back and one of those recordings didn't capture what we wanted, and then we use the other one. So that's been because I used to have a lot of anxiety about like missing a whole workshop and like what do you do? But that's been our
yeah.
solution. It saved
In
our butt a couple times.
the calls they were great. It was like the
Awesome.
magic I was hoping for, where people were getting not just coaching from me, but from each other. And it was, everything I hoped it would be and more. And there were people, and there were every week, there were people saying things where I'm trying to run the program, but I'm like, holy smokes, that would be a great testimonial, right?
Mm,
And so now I'm sitting here, and I know we'll talk about this, like,
yeah.
how do I go back? I actually set up an Otter account, loaded them in, and asked Otter, like, pull out where there would be good testimonials here. But even that is like a little labor intensive. Um,
Yeah.
but I've got to do it because people, like I wrote down like chicken scratch notes during it. One of them said, "Oh, this has been an incredible game changer." One said
Great.
it's been a complete mindset shift. So how do I turn that into
Yeah.
like real testimonials for the next cohort is a question
Yeah.
that
So
I'm
I'll
really
take your question and then we'll open it up to the community for their questions for you. So,
yeah.
but let me just start with, let me take that question. I think we talked about this on Tuesday. Did you send a total takeaway email yet?
I did, and
Okay.
and I didn't get any responses.
Okay.
Now I do have, everybody gets an individual, I don't say this out loud, but it's like an offboarding call,
Mm,
or I should say continue, because they're going to go into the alumni community. They get that
yeah.
for a year.
Yeah.
'Cause it's the first group, and I wanted to like over deliver.
Yeah.
And so in that call, I'll get their biggest takeaway, and hopefully, and I'll be recording those calls, so hopefully I'll get it in a way that I can use as a testimonial. When
Got it. Yeah.
this woman said this has been an incredible game changer, I said, a la John Meese, can I quote you on that? And she said, absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. I find the best way to ask for testimonials is, I mean, generally I don't ask for testimonials. Generally what I say is like, what was your, most useful takeaway or what did that make possible for you? What kind of results did you get? And then I say, how do we, and then I say like, okay, do you mind if I talk about that publicly? Sabrina
Yeah,
asked, because I referenced this call with you, is Joe getting one-on-one coaching from John? No, we met 2 days ago just for hey, let's talk before Thursday to make sure we know we're on the same
That's
page.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
went through the program like everybody else and
yeah,
followed along and, took
yeah.
it pretty
Nothing special.
seriously. And I said to myself, I'm just going to follow what he says to do and see if it works. And
So
it
just
worked.
follow the instructions and see what
Yeah.
happens. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so let's do some quick math though. 6 people, $2,500. So is that $15,000 cash collected?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then what other opportunities has that turned into for your business?
Well, several of these folks are in the healthcare space. And that's what my law firm does. So it definitely creates the opportunity for doing legal work as well. Now, I'm not doing legal work for any of the folks in
Mm.
the group, at least not at this time. But I will say on the podcast guesting side and even the launching of the podcast, whenever I've interviewed a GC for my podcast, it has turned into some sort of business relationship, whether they're
Awesome.
referring somebody into the academy or they're like, gosh, we haven't spoken in a while. I've got this project. You think you could help me on it?
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. So it's having this
that's been
extended
good.
effect as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there's definitely like
Yeah.
a reciprocity, and especially when you're hosting a podcast, the
Yeah.
guest almost feels like you're doing something beneficial. It's a mutual
Yeah,
benefit.
you put them on stage.
But
Yeah,
they're feeling like, it's all about them.
yeah,
And so now they're looking to give back.
amazing. Okay, I want to open it up now to the community. Everybody who's here live. Remember, each of you is here live. You probably speak for at least 5 people, so be bold with your questions. I would love it if you would raise your hands and join the queue and just ask. You can ask. I mean, primarily, I would encourage you to ask questions to Joe. If you have a question for me, you can ask me too. But yeah, what questions do you have for Joe about how he sold out his coaching program, how he ran it, or how you can do the same? Please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. All right, Mike, you're up first.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for all the info. I'm curious on what that email looked like for the process of when you're getting people to get a reimbursement from their company.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see what that looks like. I could kind of look at my crystal ball and see that happening. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
right
Mike,
on.
that's a good, Mike, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Mike is a great example of someone who could take that same strategy because he's talking to sports coaches who are already working for a team, and then maybe the team's going to be paying for it.
Yeah, so I will find that. And then,
Okay.
by the way, the one thing I wanted to say that I didn't say was all of the emails that I sent were individual emails. So I sent probably 100, probably 200 hand
Wow.
raiser emails over the
But they
course
were
of,
one-on-one, not like to an
and
email
I was
list.
doing them from my Outlook, cutting and pasting, tweaking. It was pretty time intensive. I don't yet I'm not fully facile yet with the what do you call them, the kit and all of
Email
those.
marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like always like nervous about pressing the button, whereas an individual email that I've looked at, had my eyes on, I'm comfortable with. So I
Okay.
got
But these weren't 200 like written from scratch emails. Like you
no,
developed a
it was
couple templates you could. Yeah.
mostly cutting and pasting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Love that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So do you have that email where you could show it to us, that template of how do you
Yeah,
refer this to your boss?
I do have a version of it here. Let me scroll down to that. Okay.
Yeah, just to highlight what Jake just said. You don't need to be scalable. Yeah, I mean, Paul Graham is known for saying, do things that don't scale. And he's, one of the most prolific investors in like venture-backed companies that do scale like crazy. It's like, but when you get started, it's like, you have to set that aside and just do things that don't scale to get started.
Yeah,
Love
so
that.
Hadir, who didn't wind up, she wants to join the program, but I want to get her in a cohort that more fits where she is in her career. So
Okay.
I deferred her. I will try to get this funded through our tuition reimbursement program. Can you please provide a course outline? Yeah, I don't really have a course outline. So I sent her this. I'm reaching out to request the company's support in funding my participation. Blah,
Mm,
blah, 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 blah. Key benefits for our organization.
love that.
I also say, in addition to individual coaching programs, ICA also offers custom in-person workshops for legal teams, which could be a valuable professional development opportunity for our department in the future.
Nice.
Participation in the program will allow me to explore whether this could help strengthen our team's leadership and strategic capabilities on a broader scale. Because we do workshops, And those are like a whole group cohort in one day,
Yeah,
both in terms of revenue and in terms of content.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Joe. That's a great example. I love how you planted the seed for your like. Also, this is just the first purchase. That was great.
Yeah, and they
Thank you,
go
Mike, for
both
asking that.
ways.
Yeah,
So where
yeah.
we've done workshops, in-person workshops for teams, that's now a source for individuals wanting to go deeper into the
Hmm.
community. People who've been through the community are also thinking about it, particularly those in larger law departments are like, this was great. You know, one of them said, like, uh, I'm using a lot of the things that I learned here to help people on my team. And so I'm not only winning myself, but through others as well. And so
Awesome.
that person, I'm going to go back and say, hey, we could do a workshop for your whole team so that they get exposed to everything you got exposed to.
Amazing. Love that. Perfect. Okay, Jake, you're up next. What's your question?
Yeah, you kind of you alluded to this, or at least you said you didn't use something like Kit, but do you have like a list of people, or are these all
Yes,
personal contacts,
I
or
have a
what?
list of 475 people, both in MailChimp and Kit. It was in MailChimp and I moved it to Kit yesterday. So, but I'm still trying to figure out then how to get an email out.
Okay, so
Awesome.
they're there, but that's not what you're.
I'm
That's not how you
ready.
send your emails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Cool.
Love that.
I was
I mean, a
basically
lot of
curious.
these people in my list are people I have, you know, I don't want to spam people. These are people who
Yeah,
a lot of them I've worked with for over the past 30 years. I want to be real careful that people get an email that's appropriate for them.
yeah, totally. That makes sense.
And
Thank
I
you,
don't
Joe.
know yet how to segment easily.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jake, do you have any follow-ups to that, or does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. And then I just had a follow-up question. So how did they get on your list? Were you doing, or are you doing a newsletter and stuff too, or this is like from something you did like back in
Great
2023, like you were
question.
showing, or what?
Yeah, I went to my LinkedIn connections and I had a marketing assistant pull anybody who had counsel in their name, put it
Mm,
in a spreadsheet, and then I went through them individually. Is this a person who's going to be comfortable getting an email from me because, you know, I know them and they know me? I took out everybody who didn't fit in that category. Um, and that's how I got my list. So when
Nice.
I did send out like people I've sent out through MailChimp one last email, like sort of announcing the academy. And out of like, I had 485 people, no, 475. I got 10 unsubscribes.
okay.
So I was like, I did pretty well at
Yeah.
identifying people. Now, maybe not everybody opened it, whatever, but I didn't get like a ton of unsubscribes and nobody was angry with me.
Okay. That's good.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, if they do get angry, you probably know a good lawyer. So no worries there. Corey, you're up next. What's your question?
Hey, Joe, thanks so much for sharing all of this. It's been really helpful.
Great.
Quick question about the format of the program of the 8-session program. For each of the sessions, is it primarily you just teaching and talking to them about the frameworks, the principles, or
Right.
is it more like I think what John does is like you will do some live workshopping and sharing and getting collaboration, or how did you approach those?
It's very much a training program. I have
Mhm.
like I think my slide deck is almost 100 slides. It's very professional.
Wow.
And maybe I have too much content. If it were 90 minutes, like it'd be great. So I started as I went through the program taking slides out, reducing the number of concepts and leaving more room for discussion and role playing. But it always starts with sharing of the wins. We call it Go Pro. How did you go pro this week? Because that's
Oh, cool.
mindset is our number one personal effectiveness. Go pro to perform at your highest level. And so, how'd you go pro last week? We'd go around. Then I would do the lesson of the week and then open it up to discussion.
Love
I
it.
was always half a lesson behind. So we were always finishing the prior lesson and then starting a new one, which was not by design, but I actually kind of liked it because it was keeping continuity between the topics we were talking about.
But do you mean like in a given week you were ending one topic and starting another, or do you mean in a given workshop? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
One follow-up question. In between the sessions, did you have them do any homework, or is it mostly just show up and we'll go through the training?
It was show up and go through the training.
Okay. Cool.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you. Great questions, Corey. Thank you for sharing those. Love that. All right, Sabrina, you're up next. What's your question?
Hey, Sabrina.
Thank you, Joe. Excuse me for being off camera. I'm just getting off of the flu, so
Oh no.
off camera today. So
But you
Joe,
look great in your picture, so.
well, thank you. I'm curious, when you sent out your hand raiser, and John addressed this a little bit, you included much more detail than the recommended.
I
What
did,
was
you're
what
right.
was the logic behind that?
Yeah. Just, I've got the law practice. I'm serving as general counsel to a couple different companies. I only have so much time. And so I was just trying to like cut to the chase and avoid, and I even put it on my website, the price and how it works, just to avoid like lots of questions from tire kickers, for
Yeah.
better or worse.
So you were trying to get some no's. Is that right? You're trying to get people to
I was
opt out.
trying to filter down,
Yeah.
to the people I'm talking to might really want to join. They have all the information now. They just want to, meet me.
That makes sense. I have another question. One of the emails that you showed, the response you'd gotten from that person a couple of years back, and one of his bullet points was mentorship versus coaching.
Yeah.
I'm curious what was said in that email, because I have been hesitant to say coaching because I feel like coaching would be off-putting to my clientele.
Interesting. Right.
And I've been leaning towards mentorship.
Yeah. I mean, like in the legal space, he was thinking of me as like a mentor because I've been in the role as opposed to a coach who's never been an attorney but is a professional coach. Now I'm an ICF certified coach as well. But I
That's
definitely,
just in case anybody doesn't know, this International Coaching Federation, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely bring more of a training and mentoring. This is not like just pure coaching, right? It's more, hey, I've been where you want to go. Let me share what worked for me. Yeah, so that was the issue. The problem is like people don't want to pay for mentoring. People think mentoring is like, oh, I just find a mentor and it's free. So that's kind of the yin and yang between the two terms.
Got it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I used to stress about this for a long time. Am I a consultant? Am I a coach? Am I a mentor? I used to call myself a strategist because I thought that was like an exception. But it's like, what the heck even is that? I don't know. But that's what I was. But yeah, I just own Coach now. I find that totally understand the concerns, Sabrina, because I know you mentioned you've called your program a group mentorship program. But I think Joe brings up a good point. People do assume there's an association with mentorship, that it is almost like an apprenticeship that's like free, or like you just got to find some wise person and ask them. I mean, I have people do this in real life. Like, will meet me and like, can you be my mentor? And we just like meet for like breakfast all the time and just like you talk about business stuff. And I'm like, they're not looking to pay me.
Yeah.
Can we meet once a week for 6 weeks and mentor me?
Get some mentorship. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good question, for sure. Sabrina, I'm curious, does that inspire any follow-up thoughts for you about as you think about your own situation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I need to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point. A lot of times people do think about, like, in your career, you have a mentor and it's somebody who, helps you for free. So that's something, that's certainly something to consider.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. If you're struggling, I see the people in the chat are like, yeah, I struggle with this too. Just call yourself a coach, see what happens. Would be my advice. But I understand. I also understand. Yes. So Jake, you're up next. What's your question? And we'll switch into takeaways. Yeah. Wait, you already asked a question. You have another one?
I always got questions. I got a bunch.
Yeah.
I only ask one unless you want me to
Thank
do
you.
more.
Thank you.
But first, I don't know what I would do. I think I might almost just like give them a free pass if someone told me like, can we meet for once a week for 6 weeks? It's okay if other people are there. Just tell me the schedule. I'll just show up. Be like, wow, the balls on this person or whatever. Not to be profane, sorry, but like the gumption, that'd be amazing. Anyway, my question though, to get serious, is what role did you talked a little bit about Circle? How like critical, important, take this however you want, but like how big of a factor was this in
Great
how
question.
your clients transformed?
Yeah, I would say nobody signed up because it was going to be in Circle. It was more the whole thing. I wanted to be very professional,
Hmm.
and so Circle to me was part of that. In the programs that I've been in, like John's and Dustin's and Darren Hardy's, like they have robust Circle communities, and so that's a value added. Even if these guys didn't know what Circle was yet, and it's probably the first
Yeah.
time, and maybe don't appreciate it, over time, that's going to build out and become an important point. And it
Yeah.
just made me feel good to have somewhere to put the recordings and
Yeah. I love that. That's good. As a plug for Circle, because like I've used it for a long time, but now I feel like with their new AI agent tool, Smart Buddy, it's really kind of stepped it up where now it's actually in the same category as the Forever newsletter. So like if you're creating a newsletter right now, where you're writing it as a Forever newsletter, where years from now, 1,000 subscribers are going to get what you're writing now, it allows you to create things and just like have that mindset where you're serving a huge audience, even if you only have a handful. The same thing goes if you're building a community on Circle, because whenever you're ready to upgrade an enterprise and turn on the AI agent, what you can do is it'll read every transcript, every conversation you've ever had with a client in Circle for years, and that's why Smart Buddy is so good. Is because I've been running a community on Circle for 3 years, and so it had just hundreds of transcripts and conversations with clients that I was able to just like immediately learn from, and then I gave it my books and other stuff. But I think
wow,
that's
so that's how you do
yeah,
these chatbots that
yeah,
are personalized,
exactly,
like you talking. It's learning. It's got all the you're loading the
yeah.
content in this case, Circle. Then you turn on that feature at some point when you have enough content where it's going to do
Yeah,
it.
so and when I upgraded to which the AI agent tool is brand new, but Smart Buddy did win an award as the best use case of Circle. Circle's publicly highlighting Smart Buddy right now as the best AI agent on the platform. So way to go, guys! This is all team efforts. We all train Smart Buddy. Yeah, they just emailed all of their customers about it. The yeah, so but when I
If I
trained Smart
turned it
Buddy,
on right now with
yeah,
my 8 hours in there, could
yeah.
I ask it um, pull out anything that people said positive about the program?
Oh, 100%. You could. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing you can do when you have a community that's new like yours is you can upload individual resources. Like you can say, hey, here's an outline of a workshop I've taught before. Here's a recording from like here's my podcast transcripts, actually. You can upload those. Brittany and I actually have a private space in Circle that nobody else has access to that's just called like internal training for Smart Buddy. And we just throw things in there constantly. And Smart Buddy has access to that space and is reading it. So like I was interviewed on Nathan Barry's show. That interview didn't come out till May. The transcript was immediately in there to train Smart Buddy. And so that's one of the reasons why we're continuing to do that. So anyways, yes, a big fan. I in general I like Circle, but I've also before been like, well, there's other options. Now I'm just like, I mean, I think this is kind of it. Like it's hard to compete with that really. Especially because just the AI agent tool really levels it up long term.
Yeah, and the power
Yeah.
of connections, like how did I set up my Circle? Dustin introduced me to Jordan. I signed up
Yeah.
for Jordan's
Yeah.
course. I didn't do his full group program. I signed up
Yeah.
for his course so that I
That's
knew,
awesome. Yeah.
figure
And
out what I
Jordan's
was.
here, in this community as well.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. So JT, do you have a question?
Just a really quick one. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. And then I'll say immediately after that, we're gonna switch into takeaways. What I would love it is if I want everybody to share your most useful takeaway in the chat. If you have a takeaway where you're willing to jump on the mic and say thank you to Joe and then share your takeaway live, that'd be helpful. I think I would love that. But JT, why don't you ask your question first?
Sure. Well, I'll say thank you now as well, Joe, for giving us an inside view. I just was curious since we're talking about Circle and thinking about value in different ways, right? Like I imagine there's value that people get from the live coaching element, the expertise that you have, the way you deliver your content. But then I was just curious how you're thinking about what value comes in afterwards, right? Like 12-month access to a community, I think by itself is like, oh, I'd love to be part of whatever happens afterwards, but just wasn't sure if you had like a vision for what that means, for your groups as you kind of continue to deliver value to them.
Right. Okay, great. So, I mean, what I plan to do with the alumni community is have twice a month calls once a month is going to be for anybody who's gone through and maybe currently in the program for Ask Me Anything coaching opportunity. And then the other one is going to be a workshop on a particular topic that will also serve as the magnet for people who are not in the community to come to that. I haven't decided if that's, I don't know if that's going to be a free webinar workshop or if it's going to be some payment so that the people that are alumni feel like they're getting some value because they're not having to pay for it. So that's TBD, but it's going to be, I mean, it's surprising some of the things that people want to go deeper on. Like one of the things in our workshops and in this that people say is one of the best things is like email management. So now I'm a how to manage your email trainer, which I never thought I'd be, but I
You
do
mean
have
like
a
at your
system
inbox?
for
Is that what you mean when you say that?
huge, yeah,
Yeah.
for big volume of emails, how you keep on top of everything and all of that. So I do an inbox zero hero training, and that's been it's been in higher demand than I'm even like excited about. You know what I mean?
Wow. Love that. That's great.
So
Yeah.
I'll do a workshop on that because a lot of people have asked for it. So it'll be things
Yeah.
like that. Executive presence is another kind of recurring one. What is it and how do I get it?
Great. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so let's open up now to if you're willing to volunteer to jump on the mic and share your most useful takeaway. And thank Joe for sharing his. Amazing. I also love so many takeaways that are coming in the chat, but I'd love to hear a couple on the mic if you're willing. Jake, thank you. This is why you're here. When I first met Jake, I was actually teaching a live workshop, and he sat in the front row and asked questions, and I was like, I need more of this energy. And so I'm glad you're here, Jake.
That was
Yeah.
one of the first things I said to you is I've been on the other side and I know what it's like to get crickets. So I always like to contribute.
Thank you.
So don't take this the wrong way, John. I hope this makes sense. I'm gonna tell you, Joe. I appreciate that you took John's recommendations and tweaked them in small ways to make it work for you. I think the default, by the way, John, is just follow the plan and go with it. But there was a few cases where you kind of strayed from the typical advice because it made sense, and I think that's a good way to approach things. If you don't know otherwise, just follow the plan. If there's a good reason, things can be adapted and still work.
Yeah, but you gotta have a good reason. But yes,
Yes.
I agree. Yes. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. Love that. So let's just let some of these other takeaways in the chat as well. Stella said, I enjoyed the simplicity of your thought process. Awesome. Totally agree. Stephanie said, I love that you haven't quite figured out how to send emails with Kit, but are just running with this anyway and succeeding. Go, go, go. I totally agree. I love that. Drew said, my takeaway is the idea of giving my point of contact at a nonprofit copy to get their team to fund the program more easily. So my clients pay out of pocket to hire me. That's a great example, especially Drew, for you. In your case, it's like maybe they're going to the executive director, maybe they're going to the board. Like there's probably a lot of decision makers that are part of that decision. Love that. Dustin said manual processes work. I said Dustin sticky note king Rickman said manual processes work. If you don't know, he started his program like exclusively on like sticky notes pieces of paper. Love that. Keep it as simple as possible. Doesn't apply much to you, but love the strategy of giving sales assets to the client's boss to get them paid for it. Totally agree. JT, doing unscalable things is important. Fancy tech, not always necessary. Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, keep it simple. Thank you, Suchi said, keep it simple. remember, the good old elbow grease can fill a cohort. Yes. That should go on like I don't know, that should go on a t-shirt or something like that. But I love that. And Sabrina said, sending the emails individually and manually parsing your list. Yeah, Mike said, takeaway, it is possible for a number of sessions program in a smaller time frame. Love that. Amazing. Okay, so everybody, this is awesome. Joe, thank you so much for willing to do this. It's so helpful. I think this is going to be a case study I'm sure we refer back to over and over again, of just like how niche specific it was, how there's like multiple decision makers, how you're able to do it and kind of customize it to your platform and use your network, right? This is where like, and essentially, you don't have a traditional email list of like a newsletter or something like that. And so you're going on really off of like your professional network, which is a lot of people's situation. So thank you so much for being vulnerable and just sharing so much with us today.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's attention.
Yeah. Well, we all know the next time any of us meets an inside counsel, and we're like, you need to talk to. I don't know how often that happens to us, but still, Thank you, Joe. Love it. Keep up the good work, everybody, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.